Today's guest is not just styling hair. She's rewriting the narrative around hair loss, confidence, and what it truly means to wear your crown. Raeshetta Thompson has been living with alopecia since she was 12 years old. And while most would assume a hairstylist losing her own hair would hang up her shears, she did the exact opposite. She built a business rooted in compassion, privacy, and real beauty. After nearly 25 years in the industry, Rayshetta went from Ohio to Dallas to launch her own mobile salon, the Hair Rich Club, a sanctuary for women experiencing hair loss to feel seen, styled, and supported. In this episode, we talk about her journey from hiding under wigs to walking in full self-love, how she turned pain into purpose, and why what's inside your heart always matters more than what's on your head. So grab your coffee, your bonnet, or your favorite head wrap because we're about to get into it. Welcome to the Hair What I'm Saying podcast. I'm your host, Kenitra Stewart. Today we have a very special guest joining us, sharing her alopecia journey since age 12. Welcome to the show, Raeshetta Thompson. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good, girl. I'm just so excited to have you on the show. I'm so, whenever you responded to my DM, I was excited. I was like, I got to get this girl on the show. Like, once I saw your story, I was like, she is a powerhouse. To me, especially, to be battling something at such a young and vulnerable age, I was like, I know this girl is like the epitome of what everyone on this podcast needs to hear. I know she's going to offer some healing, some good therapy, for anyone that's also experiencing the same thing. And so I was like, I got to get her on the show. So thank you for accepting the invite.
Oh, no. Thank you for asking me to come. Mm-hmm. As you know, you see me on the news and I did the interviews on the news. But this is a little bit different. Just kind of, it's more personal to me. Being able to come here and speak to you and just be able to, like you say, talk to the ladies, you know, who may be experiencing this as well. So Thank you for asking me to come.
Of course, girl. Well, we're going to get right into the first question if you're ready.
I'm ready.
You ready? Okay. So can you take us back to when you first noticed your hair was falling out at age 12? What was that like emotionally at such a young age?
Well, it's really weird because I don't know if you remember the hair product 911.
I do.
You remember that?
Now, yes.
It's like that little clear solution.
Yeah,
right? So,
right at Walmart, girl. Yeah,
we used to use that, right? And I had nice, thick, beautiful hair at that time, but that's when I kind of had started doing my own hair. My mom really didn't know how to do hair, really. So I was like doing my own hair. And one day I was doing my hair and I felt like a spot where it was like no hair at. So I had told my mom, I'm like, Mom, I think I got a bald spot. And she looked and she was like, yeah, it's clean right there. But we didn't know, what it was or whatnot. And it started to spread. And it started out like just a little spot. And then it started to spread. And eventually it got to like the size of a quarter. And I was like, Mom, like, it's getting bigger, And she was like, okay, well, I'm going to take you to the doctor. See what it is. So we go to the doctor. I'm 12 years old. So, I mean, we really still don't know,
Right.
Internet wasn't something that was popular, right?
Right.
So they say, oh, she has alopecia. We don't know what that is. We just know, okay, I got a bald spot. They said it's alopecia. Before I knew it, it started to spread to the point you could put your hand in the back of my head and literally all the hair was gone.
Oh, wow.
So I had started doing things like, and this was before my hair career, right? So I'm like 12, going into 13. Now I'm getting into middle school and I'm trying to figure out on my own. Because like I said, my mom didn't know how to do hair.
Right.
So it's like, okay, how can I camouflage this? So I started wearing braids and, kind of pull the front up and let the back kind of hang down,
So it could cover the part that was missing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it would come and it would grow and then it would fall back out. And it was weird because, again, we didn't know, right? Like what that looked like. What was that disease or that situation? Like what actually was it? So I was just like kind of trying to camouflage it. In high school, it kind of became one of those things where I really became self-conscious of it. Because, of course, kids is, you liking boys and, now you bald head, right? It's like, and then on top of that, my edges were always thin. So then that was the other thing. So now you're trying to cover and it was just a lot. It was a lot. And I don't know, like I was wearing braids pretty much majority of the time. I mean, you remember the microwave ponytails?
Yeah, girl, you roll them up,
Yeah.
put a little spritz on them, roll them up, put in the microwave, then you come out with instant curls.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So I had enough hair where I could still camouflage. Like I said, it'll grow and then it'll fall back out. So in the meantime, I was just, figuring out ways to camouflage it, whether it would be like putting a relaxer in and pull it all up because maybe the spot wasn't as noticeable in the back.
At that time,
right? And it was funny because my little sister actually went through it too. And still not really knowing, but it's just like, okay, her hair is falling out. So at this time, now I'm like in cosmetology.
Yeah.
So I'm learning, how to braid and stuff. So I was actually kind of helping her through the process. I can remember times of her, getting cracked on. And I'm like, you don't crack on my little sister? Like,
right.
But yeah, it was definitely emotional. It was. And to be here now is like really crazy because I can remember just literally a few years ago of me saying, I never do that. I never show people my hair, and people didn't even know because
you covered it up so well. So you didn't really experience any bullying.
Not really. Like I said, my sides were always thin, right? So my sides were pretty much always gone, even as like a little girl. And of course, knowing what I know now, alopecia is just a technical term for hair loss.
Right.
So not realizing it, I always had it, even before, this age of 12. But at the age of 12 was when it became a thing. Like now I got a spot somewhere that wasn't familiar.
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
my sides were always thin. My mom kind of blamed herself for that. She's like, I should have never put that relaxer in your hair, right?
Oh, man. I already knew that was coming. Yeah, right.
I'm like, Mom, it wasn't your fault. I tell her now, I'm like, this was just what God wanted me to have, and
I know, take the burden off of her,
because I know she felt bad, especially when she seen, I didn't share that video with you, but I got a video that I had posted when I first had cut my hair.
Oh my goodness.
And I was kind of like, it was funny because the journey of me cutting my hair wasn't something that I really wanted. Like I said, I never was going to share it with nobody.
Right.
And I was working this job that I absolutely hated in Dallas. And I was about to do a fast. And I was like, God, I want to do something amazing. And it was like, the voice was so clear, girl. And he was like, I need you to be more transparent with your viewers.
Absolutely.
You see, I had to look at the camera and say that one. And I was like, and I literally looked up at the sky and I was like, that's not what I meant. Like, because that's not what I want to do.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And he was like, no, that's what I need you to do.
But look what's happening ever since.
It's been crazy because so originally when I first cut my hair, it was like, it must have been the end of September going into October. So originally I just did like this hair replacement unit on myself because I was already doing hair replacement.
Right.
So that was easy. And I was like, so I just, I shaved the top completely off. I still had the hair around the sides and stuff. And it was time for me to redo my hair again. And I was just like, why is you so afraid to just do it?
Oh, yeah.
And girl, I did a video, and when I watch that video still today, I still cry.
Yeah, I bet.
I do, because I'm like, man, just to be here is like, it's just amazing to me. Because like I said, that's why they say never say never. And now I used to be like, I'm never going to do that. You going to never see me out with a bald head.
Yeah.
And look at me sitting here now.
That's growth. That's like so much acceptance from within too, to finally, be that open and vulnerable and transparent. That was just like a transition to self-acceptance on a whole nother level. You know what I'm saying? It was for you to just be like, forget it, I'm going to do it. When you always said that you would never do that.
I'm talking about 30-some years of just hiding, right? Like, I mean, I've been in the beauty industry since I was 18.
Right.
So, and it was difficult because my clients had gorgeous hair. I could always grow hair. And I remember times when I would be sitting in a bed and I would be like picking at my hair and I'd be like, God, why did you do this to me?
Right.
And
God.
I was very upset.
Yeah. So how did it affect your relationship with God at all? Or just kind of,
you got some tissue? Because I don't want to start crying.
Oh, I don't know if you have tissue.
Y'all got a bathroom in here?
We do.
Can I get some tissue
quick? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Because I don't want to.
And he might have some Kleenex out there too.
Okay, I don't want to be on.
Oh Lord, here we go. Here we go. Thank you so much. Oh Lord, here we go.
Y'all don't want to get too.
Okay, so yeah, we gonna share.
Okay.
Okay, because I'm like, here we go. Here we go. All right.
So what was the question that you asked?
Did it affect your relationship with God in some ways?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Just because the word that I used to use was cursed. I felt like I was cursed. Cause I was just like,
my goodness,
why me?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, why me? And because I was such a good hairstylist, and I had clients with hair loss, and I could get their hair to grow, but I was just like, why won't mine grow? You know what I mean? And it was just, I was very upset. Very, very upset. And I used to say that. I'm like, I was cursed. Kind of like you see people with leprosy, and you see them spots on them. Yeah, I felt cursed. I did. But now I say I'm blessed. I say that I was blessed with it because I know that it's a gift. I know that it's hard. It's a lot of women who are suffering in silence.
Right.
Tons and tons of women, all backgrounds, all nationalities, you know, and they can't talk about it. Because a lot of people, they just, you know, unless you have like this deadly illness, you know, and I say that where they say like, if you don't like have cancer or lupus or something, people just look at it like, oh, you just don't have any hair.
Right.
And then, you know, you get the jokes of, you know, well, at least I got hair. And then you have to say, well, I didn't choose this.
Right.
You know, it chose me.
It did.
So now I'm not angry with God no more. Thank God.
Right, yeah.
Because I probably wouldn't have gotten the gates, girl, because how I was feeling. Because I was like, why did you do this to me?
Right.
You know, but woo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
I'm so glad you on the other side.
Girl. I mean, and the cool thing is because I make wigs, so I still wear them, you know, but I never thought that it would be a time like I was dating this guy that I date, and I remember he said, he was like, well, how you think we gonna move forward to the next level if you won't show me your hair? And I looked him dead in his face, and I told him, I said, well, I guess we won't.
Oh no.
And
y'all didn't move forward?
No, we still date. We haven't moved to the next level yet, but that's our next thing. But yeah, I was just like, I had told him, I was like, I guess we won't. And he was like, he said, man, that really crushed me. Like, because he said, it just made me realize that you weren't comfortable enough with me. But I also had to tell him, I said, I wish you hadn't have took that as that. I said, because it wasn't that. I wasn't comfortable with myself.
Right.
You know,
that's all it was.
Yeah, that's all it was. I said, it never was about you. It was always about me. It was about me feeling comfortable enough, me understanding that I'm enough no matter with hair or without hair.
That's
you know,
right.
I said, so it never was you. You always made me feel comfortable enough to be who I am, but I had to know that.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
I'm glad it worked out. I'm glad he was patient and understanding too.
Ooh, baby.
Yeah. And also it was never about him. You know, even when I was listening to you, I'm like, it has nothing to do with him. It has everything to do with you. You know, just finally being comfortable, like you said, with just showing up as your authentic self, you know. And we can just thank God for mercy and grace, you know,
thank God.
during the times where you were struggling. And I just feel like because God knew your heart and he knew that even though you were upset, it's not who you genuinely, you know, that's not who you genuinely are, you know. And so he knew that this thing was just blocking you from being able to have that relationship with you. And he saw what it was like on the other side for you too. So I feel like That's mercy, that's grace. And man, I just love God for his patience. You hear me? Whoo!
And I feel like I definitely had to go through it because it made me more relatable. When I was in Ohio, I had a hair replacement clinic there. And
I love that.
so like to talk to the ladies, and some of them would come in and they didn't even want to show me their hair. Now, mind you, we in a consultation and this is what they're here for. And they'll say some of them before they take their hair pieces off, they be like, well, brace yourself. And I'll be like, girl, you can't show me nothing I ain't seen.
Nothing I ain't never seen or experienced.
Yeah. And I'm like, and I know like something that people would say, oh, it's just hair. It's easy to say that when it's not you, though.
Absolutely. 1000%. When it's not your life, your experience, and your journey, especially when you are being slowly introduced to the possibility of losing it versus like, ooh, you woke up and it was all off. You have no choice but to like get it together, figure it out. But it was like a slow transition into like hope and then no hope. Because it's like 1 minute is coming and then 1 minute is leaving. So it's like on one end of the spectrum, I'm feeling hopeful and then it leaves and now I'm feeling hopeless, Again. So to me, that's like playing and toying with emotions, at the same time, versus with cancer, as soon as the radiation start, that's when you typically start losing your hair. It's expected. You just woke up and was losing hair.
Yes.
That's not the same thing. And, and I'm not, saying their experience is not, worth hearing. I'm not saying that or trying to downplay it. I'm just saying the experience is different, but also the same in a very unique way, But that's a lot, to be trying to have hope on one end and not on the other. And then just a slow transition and don't even know why. At least you have a why if you got cancer, you know what I'm
saying?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
What was the exact diagnosis? Was it like alopecia areata?
Yes.
Areata,
yeah.
Okay.
Alopecia areata, which was the reason why it would fall out and it would come back. Yeah, because that's also stress-induced.
Yeah.
So, depending on, it's funny because sometimes I will still get spots, like back here in the back. Like I recently had one, it's probably been like over a year ago, where I noticed it was like clean and then it came back, So yeah, so it definitely is still there, but it's so weird too because it's like I'm going down this whole rabbit hole, right? Yeah. So now I've been doing things like, because honestly, so now my hair does still grow.
Yes.
But I like usually, because it's spotted, I'll like shave it off. So like before I came, I had cut my hair. My dad was like, why you cutting it off? It's growing. I said, Dad, because I'm not walking around like that.
Yeah, you don't want it, growing in certain spots and it's not growing in others fully. You know, then it looks unkept.
Yeah.
So it's best to just
I'm looking
shave
like a bald man, right? So
well, you don't look far from a man, honey. Far from a man, but they don't care. So the appearance of a man, right?
So I was like, well, I keep it cut down. But so what I noticed, what I've been doing since December, and I kind of got a little bit off track when I came to Temple because that was like a transition that was unexpected.
Right.
So, but what I've been doing, and I'm back on that, me and my dad was kind of battling with that a little bit because I've been eating fruits, vegetables, drinking water, reducing or just totally taking out meat, dairy, processed foods. And my hair is growing in places that it has not ever grown in like literally 30 years.
Diet is important.
Diet is very important. So what I'm seeing is, and it's funny because I've taken trichology classes. I'm a certified trichologist too as well, right?
Tell me that.
Girl, listen. Well, it's just funny because when the alopecia started to come, I just wanted to know. I wanted to know. I'm like, why?
Right.
What causes it? So I had to I had to get more training. So I was like, okay, I took training with UTI and I was like, okay, because I need to know. But it's really funny because out of all that training, now I'm starting to think some of that stuff
you already knew, huh?
Yeah, and some of it's not necessarily law. Yes, science to a certain point, but when you start healing the body, you can change a lot of things.
Yeah, those are facts.
Facts. So, like the other day before I cut my hair, like I told you, my size always been pretty much sparse and thin. Like right here, like I had hair right here.
Yeah.
So it'll cover. So that's how I was able to always, like, if I relax and I can pull up in a ponytail.
Yes.
But in the middle, it was always clean and gone. And this was before the alopecia started in the back. Well, girl, his hair growing in there now.
Good.
So I looked the other day and I was like,
amazing.
his hair growing in there.
That's amazing. Like you're treating your own alopecia, you know, just changing your diet, drinking more water.
Yes.
You know, I always say too, when I see hairstylists using fruits and vegetables on the scalp and hair, I'm always saying, like, why aren't you encouraging to take it from within?
Yes.
It's more beneficial and you'll get it and receive it quicker because you're treating it very topically if you're doing it on the scalp.
People don't realize eating all that fast food, the fried
Lord,
food.
you're talking to me. I'm so sorry.
And you got gorgeous hair.
Yeah, but I need
imagine how much more it would be, even more prettier. You get what I'm saying? Because what we take in has a lot to what we like. We're like plants.
Absolutely. We are.
And that's how I used to explain with my clients when they would come in. And these are things that I've seen just from being behind the chair. And when they started doing those things, and they'd be like, Ray, my scalp ain't dry no more. I'm like, because you're drinking water. You know, you eat and you stand away from the fried foods.
Yeah.
And people, you know, we want to think that we can do as we please, but God did not put us here for that. He put us here for a special purpose,
That's
you know,
right.
and He gave us the things that we need from the earth.
That's right.
You know, He gave us fruits and vegetables, and that's what He wants us to take in. But you know, we live in America and we could just do what we want. So, you know, we do what we want. And it does take a lot of discipline.
It sure does.
It takes a very strong mindset because, like I said, I felt my dad, he eats pretty good. You know, he really doesn't eat bad. But I have to stress to him, I'm like, I can't eat that. Well, it's salmon. I said, I can't eat that. I said, no meat, no seafood.
Yeah.
And am I still struggling with it? Absolutely.
Like you said, it takes discipline.
Girl, I went to Subway today and I wanted to get a tuna fish sandwich so bad. And I was standing in line and it was just spirit. It was like, stay on track.
Yes.
You see your hair starting to come in, stay on track.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me just get the veggie salad. And the girl was like, you don't want any meat? And I was like, just vegetables.
He said, let me just get the... I'm so depressed about it.
But I had to get them out of my mind too, right? Because when I started eating it, girl, was so good.
Right.
And I was just like, okay, this is it. This is it.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle. You know, that's life. We all, it's a struggle to choose the things that are best for us. If you want that ending goal, you know, whatever that goal is, obviously it's a gain for you in some kind of way. You have to go through those things that you just don't want. It's almost like working out. I hate working out, but I know I have a goal.
And you look good.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. But I have a goal. And I'm like, if you want, you know, if you want to be healthy, you know, because I suffer from, you know, a little illness, maybe like a year and a half ago. I'm like, if you want to be healthy, you know, you have to, you know, build your heart rate back up and stuff like that. You have to work out. You just have to. It's just what comes with it. It is. You know, but it's like, it's the thing that I don't want to do, but it's also the thing that's good for me. And that's how it is in general with life, a lot of stuff to me. It's like, it's not ideal, but I know it's the best thing for me, you know? It's like,
and you see results.
And you see results. Absolutely. And then it's hard to go back to the thing that you were comfortable with doing, even though, you know, it could create some setbacks or it's not some things aren't detrimental, but some are, you know? But when you can tackle the things that aren't very detrimental, then the things that are, that's too easy, you know?
Yeah.
You're giving up this little bitty something, so it's hard to be steered away, you know, on whatever journey you're on. You know, if you're giving up that small little thing that doesn't make a bad, huge impact, you know, it just really helps for the thing that challenges you to want to go back onto the other side.
Absolutely.
You know? I said that all to say that, yeah. But yeah, girl, that was good. I'm like, dang, that was one question.
I'm sorry.
Oh, man.
Well, you getting all of it because you got to think. I mean, I mean, outside of doing the news interviews, I haven't openly really talked about it, you know. So
yeah, girl, I'm happy.
Cool.
I'm loving it. I'm learning. I love it, girl. What was it like working in salons, styling beautiful hair every day while quietly going through your own hair loss journey?
Just a wish.
Really?
It was a wish because, like I said, all my clients have beautiful hair. You know, it's funny because they say Ray got growing hands in the back of my head. I'll be like,
my hair.
I remember this girl. She said, she was like, Ray, your eyelashes is so pretty. I said, girl, y'all worried about eyelashes? I'm trying to get some hair.
I know.
You know, like the things that people adore.
Come on, girl.
You know, that some take for granted, right? You know, you see girls with pretty hair and they be like, you know, they might not even do nothing to it. You be like, girl, if I had that hair, and they be like, girl, if I cut this hair off right now, you know, and stuff, and you be like, but then there's somebody on the other side, they be like, if I just could have that, you know. But I think now where I'm at, because I'm here now, right? And it's just so weird because now when I see people actually gravitate to me more. You know, it's
I'm
just
telling
like,
you, it's so empowering.
Yeah, we went to the VA a couple of weeks ago, and it was a lady I didn't know, but she had alopecia, and she was covered, so she had her hair and stuff, and she was like, so my dad knew her. We go over and talk to her, and she was like, oh my gosh. She was like, you are gorgeous.
Yes, indeed.
And I was like,
you are, girl.
Thank you. I was like, thank you. And she was like, I got alopecia.
Oh, she was whispering.
Yeah. And I was like, I said, it's okay. And she was like, I just wish that I could do that. And I was like, you can. You can. I was like, it was a process, but you can. And you could just see it in her face, like, how inspired she was, you know, like, man, like, if I could just do that.
Yeah.
But I be looking at myself in the mirror, girl, and I just be like, I don't know, this little bald head doing something to me. Like,
it is. I mean, it makes people want to know, you know, they want, you know, people are always wanting to be around good aura. And also a person you see that's self-accepting on so many levels, because it's admirable. You know, there are a lot of people, you know, including myself, some things I don't accept, you know, about myself too. But, you know, to see that, it's like, it's a yearning, you know, and it's like, oh, she's doing it, you know, maybe I could be like her one day, you know?
Yeah. I met a girl, I didn't meet, in passing at the cable place when I first got to Temple. And I didn't know that the lady had alopecia. She had a hood on. And I'm just out living my life, right? So I go in, my head is out, and she was like, hey, sis. And I kind of looked at her because I'm like,
I don't know who this is.
And she was like, hey, sis. And then she kind of like did this thing, like, and like she put her hood back to show me like that her hair, she was bald too. And I was like, hey, sis, like, you know, it's like a unspoken
community.
Yeah,
right?
Like, and I was like, okay.
Sisterhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when I had locks, I used to get that, like, from the lock women.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like this, I don't know, like you said, like this unspoken, you know, communication, like, I see you, you know? I don't know what that is, you know, but it's like somebody that's doing something a little different. Yours is on a whole nother level of difference. But with the locks, you know, a lot of women weren't open to wearing locks.
And natural hair or any of that.
Right. So when you see someone doing it, it's like, I see you, you know? Yeah, girl.
I'm glad that we here with the natural hair and stuff like that.
Me too. You know, for so many reasons, right? Yeah. All right. You mentioned that 2023 was when you finally started exposing yourself to the world. What happened that made you say, I'm ready now?
It was just really that conversation with God when I did that fast. And he was just like, it's time.
I love the fast. Yeah. You know, like, some people fast food, some people fast TV or whatever the case might be. But yours was like, whoo.
It was major. Like, and so then when I originally cut my hair, and remember I told you I didn't really still expose it.
Right.
So I did this video, and girl, I cried like a baby on that video. And
OMG.
And it was like, you still trying to do what you want to do, and that's not what I told you to do.
Oh my gosh. We was like, look, I done told you now.
Yeah, no, for real. And it was just like, and I was just like, and I remember looking in the mirror, so mind you, I'm sitting there with this bald top now because I done shaved the top out to put the piece on. And then it's just like, okay, so what you gonna do? Put the piece back on. So I'm sitting there literally looking like George Jefferson.
Girl, stop.
No, seriously. And I was just like, Ray, stop it.
Yeah.
Like, just cut it.
Just cut it, yeah.
And I was just like, forget it. I just cut it. And now, mind you, I'm in a relationship, right?
Yeah.
So I'm upstairs and I'm cutting my hair and I'm just cutting it off.
You didn't let nobody know.
He didn't even know because he would always give me my privacy when I'm doing my hair anyways. You know what I mean? So I cut it off, and I remember he came upstairs and he went in the bedroom, and I was in the bathroom. I was like, hey, I got something to show you. And he was like, what? And I came out, and girl, he about fell out. He was like, I'm so glad you did it. Like, and it was crazy because this is something I definitely want to say for anybody who has alopecia. It is about you. And a lot of times we are our own enemy because all what I thought people was going to think and all what I thought people was going to say, it was none of that. Like I'm battling in my head as I cut my hair off, and now I'm upstairs. So I'm telling myself, either he gonna like it or he ain't. Well, I don't care if he like it. Well, what if he don't like it, and what if he leave you? And then I'm like, what did you do? Like, so I'm like, literally,
so many emotions, right?
Yeah, and I'm like, you know what? I'm like, oh, well, it is what it is.
It is what it is. That's right. I'm glad you just, your brain was doing that to you. You know, your brain was taking you on this emotional roller coaster, trying to convince you all the reasons why you shouldn't do it.
Because I was about to go in there and put the wig back on.
Yeah.
I was like, just go put the wig on. I mean, he won't know anyway. Like, because I was sleeping in wigs. You know, I was literally, and if I wasn't sleeping in a wig, I had a bonnet on. You know, because like I said, my hair was still growing, but it was spotty.
Yeah.
You know, and when I showed him my hair, he was just like, he jumped up and he was hugging on me and kissing on me. He was like, I'm so glad you did it. And then when I put a post up and I was with my bald head, and girl, it was so many people that was commenting, and I started getting all these inboxes from all these ladies, and I was like,
oh,
what
my
just
goodness,
happened?
Yeah.
And I was like, all that time you was worried, which, like I said, it's about you first for sure. But what we think in our head that people may say is really, you know, you probably will. I'm sure you're going to get some of those people, right, who may say, but after I came out, I was like, people can't use against you what you already accept about yourself.
That part. Yeah. That's right. Those are facts. Like, what are you, it almost remind me of 8 Mile with Eminem, you know, when he got up there. I don't know if you ever seen that movie.
I did. Okay. I love it.
Right. And he get up there and he's, rap battling the guy, and he just pretty much rapped about himself. Like, I already know this is what you about to say about me, so I'm going to rap about myself. And now when it's your turn to go, you ain't got nothing to say.
Nothing.
You know?
Nothing.
That's right. Absolutely.
And that's what it was. I'm like, they can't use against me what I'm already accepting about myself. What, you going to call me bald head?
That's right.
I am.
Yep. That's right. And while you're comfortable, that doesn't mean it can't happen to you. Because it can.
It can.
It sure can. Like, don't ever think what you have is inevitable. It's not. Like, hair is it's so vulnerable, and it's not as committed to us as we are to it.
The truth is, that's the first thing that could go when you're sick.
Absolutely. In any case, right? I mean, when people were getting COVID, they were losing their hair.
Yep, that's
and
the first
was COVID.
thing. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So
because the body doesn't respond. It doesn't need hair to survive.
It don't.
So that'll be the first thing that'll go usually.
Absolutely.
You know, or that's when you'll start experiencing it. You know, the shedding. It's like, oh, my hair is shedding. Well, there's something going on in the body. You know, so yeah.
It's usually that first indicator. You know, hair is a dry snitch to let you know something is going on internally.
I love that, a dry snitch.
Oh, yeah, the girl be dry snitching. You hear me? Just cute. So we already talked about the emotions that you faced when you were cutting your hair, when you had to face yourself in the mirror without the wig. So we'll just move to the next question.
Okay.
What inspired you to start the Hair Rich Club, and how did the idea of a mobile salon come about?
Well, the Hair Rich Club was actually started in 2016.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I started in Ohio because it was that was the name to my hair replacement clinic.
Okay.
When I moved to Texas, I was kind of like battling with myself. I really didn't want to do hair anymore.
Yeah, girl.
Yeah. And I was kind of just like really kind of running from my gift. And I was already a wig maker, but I didn't want to like do hair. So I was doing wigs and I had created this online platform. So I had women's like buying wigs from me and stuff. But my business had started to slow down. And I kind of had tried to do a shop thing. Girl, I went to a salon for 3 days. And I was like, yeah, this ain't it.
Why?
Because I knew that's not what I wanted. I didn't want to be a hairdresser anymore. I wanted to like specialize in my craft. And I wanted to do hair replacement, the things that, for people who have alopecia. I wanted to service the women who really needed me.
A bigger purpose.
Yeah, not saying that women who just want to get their hair done didn't need me, but, it's a yearning when you don't have hair. You want it and you want it to look a certain way. You want to feel a certain way. So that's kind of how the mobile beauty bus came about, because I needed to create a space. And then I was like, well, if I got to get a space, then what does that look like? And it was like, I had thought about doing a bus before.
Yes.
And then I was having a conversation with my dad, and he was like, well, it's a lot of things you need to think about. What if it break down and blah, blah, blah. So it kind of like strayed me away. And then it came back full circle. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do a salon on wheels. And that's exactly what I did.
I love that idea. And I've seen some, barbers, stylists doing, mobile beauty businesses. And I remember at one point I even checked it out. I don't know why I didn't go through with it though. I don't know. But when I saw you had one, I was like, this girl doing everything. Like,
girl, it was a lot of work. It definitely, if I probably had knew all what it was going to take to do it, I probably would have not done it. So I guess that's why God didn't let me know all what it would have took.
Right.
Would I do it again? Absolutely. I want to get another bus. That's my goal, is to get me a newer bus that can be just, newer, nicer for my clients.
Like an upgrade.
Yeah, just an upgrade. Right.
Yeah. But what all did you go through? Why you say that?
It was so when I got my bus, well, first of all, we went to Oklahoma and we got the bus, and I didn't realize all the work that I was just going to have to put in the bus.
Like renovating.
Yes.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
And then it was just things that I didn't know. Like, I didn't know that I was going, which there are other ways that you can power it.
Right.
But I didn't know. So I have a generator, but I didn't know that I was going. So I'm thinking when I bought the bus, he had a little generator on there, but I'm trying to power a whole salon, right?
Yeah, so you need
yeah. So then the electrician comes and he was like, well, that little thing is not going to work. And I'm like, well, what do I need? And then he shows me this one, and it's like $3,700. And I was like,
oh, Lord Jesus, help me.
I was like, that wasn't in the budget,
Oh, my
But
God.
it was like God was still providing for me to be able to do it. And it was just like, we going to make this happen.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? But like I said, if I probably had knew that I was going to go through all of that, I probably wouldn't have did it, which is probably why I didn't know, Because like I said, now where I'm at, I would definitely do it again.
Yeah.
Like in the very near future, I plan to do it again. So that is one of the things that's on my list, is just to get like an upgraded bus. Because I love it. The clients love it. But I also go to people's homes.
Yeah, definitely like the mobility.
Yeah.
The logistics of it is so ideal for a client.
Yes. They love it. So it just makes it easy. But then the other thing that I recently experienced is because when I was in Dallas, we didn't have this in Ohio. They have mobile stylists. Like, they just go to people's homes. So then I said, because my ultimate goal is to create a team, but everybody can't have a bus, right?
Right.
So we'll still just offer the service, but we'll go to people's homes and provide them with the service.
Oh, I love that.
So that's the other piece of that.
Okay, that's a nice goal.
Because I was like, maybe it never was about
too.
The bus. Yeah, the bus is cool, but I really think I need it because when you work in a salon, it's just certain things that we do.
Right.
It's certain things that we do, and it's just a part of our salon culture.
That's right.
So when you go to a house, in our brains, it's like, oh, it's a kitchen beautician.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But not really. when you think about it now, where we are, it's really convenience. And convenience is a luxury.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely. So when I got to Dallas and I seen these big companies that had these mobile beauty brands, and I was like, they really going in these, and we was going into people's houses, and I ain't talking about just any house, these $100,000, $1 million houses, and the ladies is in there, and hold on, and they was coming washed already, girl.
Oh, wow.
So some of the conversation that we have in our community when it comes to hair, I was like, these ladies ain't even worried about that. They coming out washed with their robes on, ready to get their hair blow dried and styled. And I was like, so it really opened my mind up, and I was like, you can do this mobile business, and it can be similar to this business model, but for women who suffer with alopecia, women who wear custom units. And I was like, okay, God, I see what you doing. I see what you doing.
I love how you're learning through the process too. And like you're taking the gems and building off of what you're learning instead of looking at it like it could have been a possible setback mentally, like a mind block. Like, I don't even want to try that out because I know people aren't open to that. Just because a small few aren't does not mean you're not going to service people who are.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because some people are looking for convenience more than do you got a shampoo bowl. I just need you to be able to pull up, do my hair, and I go back in the house.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. How does privacy impact healing and confidence for your clients?
Oh, I think it's huge. Because of course, when you have hair loss, it's a conversation that most people just don't really know how to have. You get strange looks when you go in the salon and people, girl, look at her hair, So privacy is very important. People, either if it's in your home or it's on the beauty bus, where you can just be serviced and you just know that it's just you and your service provider. People really, really like that. I just went and did some custom units for a lady, and I actually went into her home and did them because she wasn't able enough, because you got to get up on the steps to come in the beauty bus. So she was like, well, if you don't mind, could you come to my house? And I was like, absolutely. And she just said that right there was priceless for her.
Wow.
Her being able to get her service done, look good and feel good in the comfort of her own home. She was very thankful. And I was like, okay. So, and that just that just opened my brain up to say, maybe it never was about just having a beauty bus. It was just making it convenient overall, So, yeah, I'm glad for that.
Yeah. And also that level of privacy, because some people are not ready yet, to take off the wig and, be exposed to so many people around them, wondering, like, what are they going to think? So the privacy is so important for, clients, that's experiencing hair loss, So I think creating that idea, not that idea, but creating that business model for, your clients. And also you have the personal experience. So it's not like you can relate to them personally. Like, I know what you're going through, So I think that's why it's also working out for you, because you are able to tap into the mind of a person that's experiencing hair loss and be like, what would I want if it was me going and I'm not ready yet, So I think that's why the business is doing so great, because you can emotionally connect with these women on
That's
a whole
very
nother
true.
level. I could never connect, in that way with them. I could have empathy, but I couldn't sympathize because I don't have the experience. So I think it's amazing that you are taking what you, and then you are on the other side. So these girls get the experience, not only am I receiving this luxury level of hair experience, but then I'm booking with somebody who know what I'm going through. That's on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
It's so impactful, because that's who I would want to service me versus, a licensed cosmetologist. I'm like, no, I'd rather go to someone who can relate to me, that can have so much empathy that even when I'm doubting myself, she's on the other side. She know what to say to me, in order to get me where I need to be, where she at.
It's important.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, I think niching down was like the best thing you could have ever done, girl. So that's why I'm like, I'm so in awe, and I mean, I'm just meeting you, but I'm like extremely inspired by you, girl.
Thank you so much,
You're
girl.
welcome.
It's been a journey.
Yeah, it has, and you conquered it. And we'll still conquer it, like listening to how you deliver, how you speak. It's so much hope. It's so much positivity. You have a good relationship with God. Like, you have no other choice but to go up, with those small little gems on top of everything else that you're embodying,
Right.
So it's like the only way is up from here. I don't hear any self-doubt, even how you present yourself. It's all so just confidently done, so girl, I'm loving it. Loving it. Okay. What kind of reactions have you gotten from your clients? Any stories that stay with you?
Just that people is inspired.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of people from my hometown, of course they watching, and because those people who know me personally, right?
Yes.
And people who I don't know, because I have a large online base.
Mm-hmm.
So I get like my customers. It's funny because a lot of them, they like, girl, I shaved my head after you did yours.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, really? Like, and I'm like,
that's
wow.
amazing.
So it's mind blowing. Like, I've been just getting phone calls just like crazy. Especially, it's funny because so much stuff has happened in 2 months of being in Temple. It's just crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you're doing a podcast.
Girl, hold on though. So after I talk to you, whenever me and you talk, we talk that week. I mean, it's just been like back to back to back.
Mm-hmm.
So I get a phone call from a lady and she was like, oh, I just heard your commercial on the radio. Did I tell you that? Or was it after? Okay, so she said, I just heard your commercial on the radio. And I was like, commercial?
Oh my God.
And she was like, yeah, she was like the guy on, and she said 90 is a Christian station.
Uh-huh.
And she said, he just did this long spread about you, talking about you and your alopecia and blah, blah, like.
Oh.
And I was like, she was like, you didn't know? And I was like, no.
That's amazing.
So I called the radio station because I was just, I'm like, whoever this guy is, I at least want to tell him thank you, right?
Right, yeah.
So I call and I'm like, I had to leave a voicemail. And I was like, hey, this is Ray. I'm the owner of Hair Rich Club.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say thank you guys. I'm not even sure who this gentleman was, but he shouted out my business. And someone called me. Like, literally, he did that and the lady called, right?
Oh, my goodness.
He called me back the next day. And then he says, hey, he was real nice. His name is Dave. Real nice guy. He was like, let me ask you this. He was like, could I do an interview with you on Monday?
See?
Girl, I about fell out.
Gosh. You're going to have to, like, keep track of your interviews.
Girl.
Like, you need your links and everything so you can be like, listen, if you want to hear about
on my
story,
site.
You do. So you can keep track of everything because you've been interviewed so much. Like, and you don't want to lose this resourceful information.
Absolutely.
It's like your resume, like where people can get to know you before they even experience you.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you need to be gathering all these links, girl.
Girl, I about fell out. I was like,
that's a blessing.
It is.
It is. And you just moved here.
2 months. Literally 2 months and 2 days now. I don't. People was like, well, "How you keep getting these interviews?" I said, "Girl, it's
the story.
God. That's it.
Yeah, God for sure. Number one. Yeah, and the story. That you once thought. Like, oh, this is the worst thing ever that's happened to me, and look what it's doing for you. It's like moving mountains for you.
Absolutely,
it's creating so much exposure, and I just love the fact that it's going to create hope for someone that's still not there yet, So that's another thing. It's like a very hopeful, inspiring story. And people, especially today, child, we looking for some hope, because it's looking crazy out here.
It is.
So if you can get a little hope even from a hair store, even if you can't relate to it, it's just like somebody I see moving forward, in these weird times. So,
it's crazy.
Yeah. What does self-love look like to you now compared to when you were 12?
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
So self-love to me is just accepting yourself. Like, no matter what it is, because I always like to think we all have flaws.
Right.
you know?
Absolutely.
And it could be something as small as one of my friends said they don't like their knees.
Yeah.
And I mean, that may seem small to somebody, right? But it's not to the person who it is.
Who's experiencing it is
like,
not the same.
That's your flaw that you take to. Some things that we see on people, they feel like it's a flaw, but to others it may not be. But it's just really just accepting who you are. I always tell people, like, my thing is sometimes I feel like a wig, sometimes I don't.
Right. At least you're optional now instead of like only the wig.
Right.
Yeah.
But I also say, if wigs is your comfort, then let that be what it is, But also just be okay with being who you are, because when you go home at night, you still got to deal with yourself.
You sure do.
You still going to be whoever you are, whether it's, with your hair or without the hair, or with the makeup, without the makeup, the lashes. You get what I'm saying? Like, when it's all said and done, it's just a shell that you got. It's really about who are you? Like, we use all these things and we feel like this is just me, or this is who I am. But really, after all that's said and done, and you wipe it all off, or you use an eraser to remove it all, who are you really?
Who are you?
Who is your personality? What's your spirit? How do you carry yourself when people look at you? What do they see? Because you can be beautiful on the outside, but your inside could still be ugly. So to me, that's real self-love, accepting yourself for whatever it is, But I will say this, because I always tell people, like, it doesn't mean, like, let's just say you have alopecia, because I always still felt like, even though I was wearing wigs, I still felt like, yeah, I wear wigs, but I still do love myself.
Right.
Because I've heard guys say, women wear wigs, and I'm like, you don't know what that may look like for a person, So whatever your comfort level is, be comfortable with that. But just know, like, you still who you are.
You still who you are.
Yeah, like, yeah, you might have a wig on, and I'm sure you feel gorgeous with it on, because I put my wigs on, baby, and I be like, But at the same time, I'm still who I am.
I'm still who I am.
I'm still going to be the same person, whether I have it or not, It's like riding around in a hoopty.
Absolutely.
You still the same person in the hoopty or not, So how you carry yourself is going to be how you carry yourself. And that's just what we have to remember. Be true to yourself, whatever that may look like.
That's right. Because when you're mentioning that, it made me think that's why you should be intentionally working on yourself from within and not aesthetically, or like on your exterior. Because like you said, when you go home, that's who you're going to deal with. When the mask come off, you know what I'm saying? So, are you hear what I'm saying? So I feel as though that's what we need to focus on more. This is a vain world.
It is.
It's so vain. And you'll see, just because this world is so full of this illusion of vanity more, you'll miss out on, really interacting and getting to know or collaborating with a really good person because you're so stuck on the vanity, So that's very important, to be working on yourself from within.
From within.
And they're going to see you too. I don't care what you look like on the outside. If you work on yourself from within, them having a conversation with you, they'll see beyond what the exterior is exposing, And also, if you're not working on yourself, they're going to see that too.
They're going to see that too. Because you can only hide so much. Eventually, your true self is going to come out.
Absolutely. Eventually. That's right. For sure. Okay. If you could talk to that younger version of yourself, what would you say to her now?
You are awesome. You are amazing. You are worth it. Yeah, you are. I don't know if I can say this, but
you can say whatever you want to say.
You the SHIT.
Absolutely.
I just spell it. Yeah, you are. You are. With or without any of that, you are.
And I would tell her, you gonna beat this. one day you'll look on
Absolutely.
the other side of this and be like, it was deep in the moment, but not no more.
Ooh,
You know?
baby. I'm talking about. I'll be like, I can't believe I'm just out here living my best life.
Uncovered,
Uncovered.
unapologetically, just being
Unapologetically.
you,
Yep.
What do you hope people, especially young girls with alopecia, take away from your journey?
Just being proud of who you are, accepting yourself, just realizing that you don't have to hide,
Mhm.
Again, usually we're our own worst enemy. So a lot of the times what you may be thinking people may think about you is not even really true. It's really just the enemy trying to really keep you from being who you really are, just being your true self. Because that's what I feel like. That's just a lot of that, what that was like. Because like now that I'm out here and how we're seeing, it's like people just gravitate to me more. And I'm like, it'd be weird because I'd be like, what is going on? But then I just had to think, I'm like, because they see something in you now. You're not hiding anymore.
You're not hiding.
Yeah, like you're more confident in yourself, and it shows, so just to hold your head high, walk with confidence and talk about it.
And talk about it. Yeah,
because if, a lot of people, they're just not educated and they just really don't know, but when you start talking about it and you share with them, hey, this is alopecia and this is what this is, and, and then they can start to understand it a little bit more, then it just becomes more acceptable to them, then you get your friends standing up for you and they're like, don't talk about her.
That's right.
And it just becomes a thing. So just, walk in your confidence, share your truth, don't run from it.
That's right.
Yeah.
I love how you spoke on the education part, because when you ain't educated in whatever it is, you're ignorant. And that's why the ignorant comments are coming, you know what I'm saying? So I really like the education part, because that's valuable, information for you to relate in some kind of way or just understand. Like you said, you didn't choose it chose you.
It didn't, girl.
So right. So I really love how you spoke on that education piece, because that's what is lacking when people make ignorant comments. Well,
when Jada came out about her having girl, so I was like, I'm so tired of hearing about it, and it was just, and people like, well, she got hair, and I was like, but it just let me know how they didn't
understand how this works.
They didn't, and that's when I really realized, I was like, people don't even really understand what alopecia is, and how it really works, like, and I was like, okay, so yeah.
All right. And, well, you already answered that question. I was going to ask you, where do you see the Hair Rich Club going in the future? But you already answered that, unless you want to tag a little bit more on that.
I mean, well, like I said, creating a team of trained individuals who can actually offer these services to women who have hair loss. Not only just hair loss, but maybe you're just looking for a cosmetic, but we'll definitely be doing custom wigs and hair replacement. That's the thing that I want to really focus on. I do extensions as well, so that's another thing that I do. But my thing, or my niche, is catering to women who actually have hair loss.
Absolutely. So I want to thank you so much for your time. We're cutting it right at the mark.
Okay.
You see how fast it go? It goes so fast.
It was good.
And it was awesome. But I do want you to shout out your socials so that our listeners can stay connected with you. And I did see that you have a wig class coming up, so make sure you shout that out too for any listeners that might be interested and want to tap into that and learn some more from you.
Okay. Well, you can find me on Facebook at Hair Rich Club. You can also find me on IG, which is I'm going to give y'all my personal IG.
Hey.
It's I am Wigiana. That's WIGGIONA. That's the same tag for my TikTok as well, and my YouTube. You can actually see some educational videos over me installing units on there too as well. And the wig training, I'm actually going to be scheduled to do a wig training in June.
Okay.
And I'm wanting to open up my trainings to younger ladies as well, so that that high school, middle school age bracket between the ages of 13 and 18 for young girls who may want to start getting into making wigs so that they can actually start making an income for themselves.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that's what I'm looking forward to doing.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for your time. Thank you for accepting the invite first and foremost. And I have thoroughly enjoyed speaking with you, meeting you, getting to know you even more on your journey, because I only saw the little snippet from the news report that they done on you. So now I know even more, and I'm sure there are even more layers to peel back, but I just...
Like an orange, ain't it?
Girl, orange. You hear me? Orange potatoes, anything you can peel. But I am truly honored to have had you on the Hair What I'm Saying podcast.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Didn't Rayshetta just bless us with some real deal healing? From losing her hair at 12 to launching a whole mobile salon that empowers other women with hair loss, Rayshetta is proof that beauty isn't about blending in. It's about owning your story, loving your reflection, and helping others do the same. If you're dealing with alopecia or know someone who is, remember this: your crown isn't just on your head, it's in your soul. You can connect with Rayshetta and learn more about the Hair Rich Club in the show notes below. Until next time, keep showing up, keep loving yourself, and remember, hair or no hair, you've always been that girl.